Jack's sweetheart was about to die. When I heard the news, I was lying on the operating table. Jack dropped the scalpel and told his colleague, "I need you to take over my wife's surgery." Then, he turned and left. Watching Jack's back, I couldn't hold back my tears. The next second, the cold scalpel pressed against my skin. His colleague spoke calmly, "Why are you crying? With me here, you won't die." Jack said nothing as he dropped the scalpel. He threw his gloves into the trash. "I can't do this surgery. Get Alan to take over." This was the 20th minute since Lucy's accident, and my usually composed husband finally cracked. He urgently halted my surgery and started taking off his equipment, feigning calmness, but his shaking hands gave him away. Lucy was in trouble, and he was worried sick. He wanted to be by her side as soon as possible. "Professor, your wife's heart rate is very fast. She's very nervous. Are you sure you want to leave now?" A sharp pain rose in my chest. I told the nurse calmly, "It's okay. Anyone can perform the surgery." Everyone in the operating room looked at me with sympathy. I just smiled. When Lucy came back, I knew my marriage with Jack was over. To ask Jack to leave a dying Lucy to operate on me was something he couldn't accept, and I didn't want to entrust my life to someone like him. The door of the operating room slid open silently. A tall, masked figure walked in. It was Jack's colleague, Alan. As they passed each other, Jack said, "Please take care of Jane's surgery. If I don't go now, I might regret it forever." Listening to his words, my tears flowed silently. How pathetic, Jane. It's just being left behind once again. Why cry about it? A shadow suddenly fell over my eyes. A cold scalpel pressed against my skin. The usually cold Alan spoke calmly, "Why are you crying? With me here, you won't die." The surgery took 2 hours. When I came out, it was already evening. It had started raining heavily outside. Alan stayed by my side until he confirmed I was stable before he left. When Jack's call came in, the anesthesia had just worn off, and I was in a cold sweat from the pain. I answered the call, and a lively, coquettish voice came through. "Sorry, sis-in-law. I don't know what his brother told you, but it's just a minor scratch." Yet Jack ran over in a panic. I've already scolded him for it. Then came her coquettish scolding. "You're over 30 and still so impulsive. What did you think? Like when you were dating? Save a cup of milk tea and take it to his apology." There was a rustling sound, like Jack took the phone. "I've told you many times. If you don't want your wound to get infected, stay put. She just had surgery. She can't drink milk tea. It's all bought for you." The tone on the other end was peaceful, with Jack's brother sounding very aggrieved. "I just said you were in a car accident," and he hung up in a panic. "How is that my fault? Don't drag me into your lovey-dovey mess." Suddenly, the pain in my wound felt nauseating. The pressure on my chest was suffocating. I swallowed the urge to ask Jack for painkillers and hung up. A nurse came in and handed me some medicine with a smile. "Alan prescribed painkillers for you. Take them and get some sleep." Since I had to work, I was discharged after only 3 days. As I stepped out of the hospital, Jack's car was parked outside. I instinctively opened the passenger door. A soft scream stopped me. I saw Lucy retract her head from the driver's seat. Her messy collar and slightly provocative gaze made me freeze. "Sorry, sis-in-law, I didn't mean to." She looked like she was about to cry. Jack untangled some hair from his watch, scolding coldly. "What nonsense. Don't let Jane misunderstand." Then Jack explained to me. "Her hair got tangled in my watch while she was picking something up." I know Jack didn't lie. He told me before we got married. "I had a relationship before, but once married, I'll be loyal to you." But sometimes, this line blurred. It became a breeding ground for ambiguity. Like now, swallowing my bitterness. "Jack, we need to talk. I don't want anyone else around." Maybe my emotions made Lucy uneasy. She bit her lip. "Jack, I'll just take a cab home. Sis seems upset." Jack remained calm. "You think you can walk?" Lucy forced a smile despite her pale face. "I'll try." But she didn't move and waited there. Even Jack looked at me. His eyes were calm and deep, like usual, but I knew Jack wanted me to say something reasonable. But I didn't want to endure this. I stepped aside. "Get out. There are plenty of cabs at the corner." Lucy stiffened and walked away, eyes red. I sat where she had been. The atmosphere in the car was stifling. After a while, Jack spoke gently. "No need to blame her for me leaving. You know, the emergency call. I was just doing my job. If anyone called, I would leave." I didn't have the strength to argue what was on his mind at that moment. I just felt exhausted. "Jack, let's get a divorce." Jack slammed on the brakes. Things in the car fell everywhere. He frowned. "Jane, why?" "Because of Lucy." I endured the dull pain of the surgical wound. "Yes, because of Lucy." Outside the window, a sudden cry of pain. Amidst the car horns, Lucy fell at the street corner, visible from here, in the most obvious place. I looked at the bustling crowd outside and laughed bitterly. Your Lucy fell. Aren't you going to check on her? Jack restarted the engine, radiating cold. You're divorcing me. Why would I care about a stranger? On the way home, the atmosphere dropped to freezing. Once we got home, Coco came over to us, meowing. This was the cat Jack got me the year we got married. Normally, when we sleep, Coco likes to sleep between us. Jack stared at Coco for a long moment, then bent down and picked her up. He said with a sigh, Coco, Mama and Papa had a fight. Can you help Mama forgive Papa, please? Coco, being the smart cat she was, meowed and looked at me. This was always Jack's way of making up after a fight. He knew seeing Coco would soften my heart, but this time, I pressed my lips together and said nothing. Jack lowered his head and asked, did you take the painkillers Alan prescribed? Did you ask him to? Jack raised an eyebrow. Who else? You think I'd leave you hanging? Jack leaned in to kiss me, his long fingers cradling my cheeks, the cool touch sending shivers down my spine. Jane, I'm not crazy enough to wreck our marriage, he whispered softly. Be good. Let's not get divorced, okay? No, not okay. Not at all. If Lucy had come back 3 years ago, I wouldn't care. After all, Jack and I met through a matchmaker. Bookish family meets medical dynasty. A perfect match on paper, but emotionally distant. I worked as a university professor. Jack was always busy with work. The first year we were married, we could count our dates on one hand. I don't remember when I began to fall for Jack. Maybe it was over time. Maybe it was that rainy night when I got in a car accident. The perpetrator harassed me and Jack showed up in the rain. A respectable medical professor, fighting aggressively for me. He showed up with cuts on his face, wiped my tears, and said with both frustration and tenderness, why are you crying? Jane, you can always rely on me. But 3 days after I got out of the hospital, the man I could rely on showed up in Lucy's social media posts. That day, I had just finished a lecture, and was at the office getting water. When I opened my social media, Lucy's post popped up out of nowhere. Her knee was newly bandaged. Caption, the price of being ditched midway is having the big professor come personally to change my bandages. A while later, she deleted the post. Then she posted a new one. Got scolded. Next time, I'll wait right there for you to come back. Accompanied by a cute selfie. In the corner of the photo was Jack's watch. My hand trembled as I put down my cup. It wasn't until a colleague called my name that I snapped out of my utter disgust. I recognized the table corner in the photo. It was Jack's parents' house. He had brought Lucy home. My parents always said I had a strong sense of revenge. When I was a kid, if a dog bit me, I would bite the dog back. Given how things had escalated, I had no reason to hold back anymore. I decisively liked Lucy's post, then commented, nice watch. I turned my phone to silent. After finishing my lecture, it was almost noon. When I looked at my phone again, I saw I had missed 7 or 8 calls from Jack and 3 from Lucy. The post was gone. Jack called again. Jane, why didn't you pick up? He asked with a sigh. Today's Monday. I have to teach. He paused, realizing I didn't take calls during class. In those few seconds of silence, I bet he was thinking of what to say to me. But once he spoke, his words came off as defensive. I waited quietly. Soon, Lucy's sobs came through the phone. Sorry, sis-in-law. I haven't seen uncle and auntie in a long time, so I visited today. Jack happened to be there, so he helped me change my bandages. Please don't fight with him over this. I chuckled. Which eye of yours saw us fighting? If you're this nervous, maybe you did something shady. Jane. Jack's voice was calm, reminding me, Mom and Dad are here. Watch your words. Lucy was just expressing her gratitude in the post. She did nothing wrong, and doesn't deserve your accusations. After a long silence, Jack sounded impatient. When are you done with work? I'll pick you up for dinner. Mom's cooking. With a tight chest, I took a deep breath and replied with a laugh, Jack, if she's there, I won't be. The long silence that followed spoke volumes. What I didn't realize was that Lucy had put the phone on speaker. My voice echoed through the living room. Everyone heard it. Jack lost his patience completely. He coldly said, fine, whatever, and hung up first. It was our first Cold War in 3 years of marriage. Not too early, not too late. Right as Lucy starred in A Second Chance at Love, my colleagues couldn't stop raving about the play. They said it was a touching story about reuniting with an ex. Many people got back with their exes after watching it. I tuned out all the gossip and took a thank you banner to Jack's hospital. Alan greeted me. Jack's not here. Want to come back another day to give it to him? He wore a light blue mask, his skin pale, his hands in his white coat pockets, as aloof as ever. I smiled. "This is for you. For the surgery you did for me." Alan's light eyes studied me. He said nothing more and put the banner up on the wall. I asked, "Alan, I'll come to you for stitch removal, right? If Jack's busy, come to me." Jack would definitely be busy. During our Cold War, he moved back home. His clinic hours doubled from twice a week to 4 times a week. He never contacted me, probably hoping I would make the first move and go see him at the hospital. But I never did. Instead, I went for my follow-ups with Alan when Jack wasn't around. After half a month, Jack finally lost his patience and called. "Why do you keep seeing Alan?" he asked, frustrated. "For my follow-up. I have clinic hours Monday through Thursday. Why pick weekends to see him?" I laughed. "What's gotten into you today? So angry. I have classes Monday through Thursday. Do you think I have time?" Jack's voice was cold. "Jane, do you know what you're doing? Some people are just like that. When they start drifting in a relationship, they get jumpy, thinking their partner will do the same." I kindly proposed, "Why don't you reschedule your home visits to the weekend?" Jack was silent. Lucy's play was set for the weekend. He couldn't bear to miss it. I hung up the phone and found myself staring into Alan's calm, cold eyes. I was slightly taken aback. "What's wrong?" Alan lowered his gaze, and his long fingers gently brushed over my medical records. "Jane, you've had 3 prescriptions for sleeping pills this week. I can't give you any more. It's okay. Getting drunk works just as well. Thanks for everything these past few days." Alan looked intently at my forced smile and suddenly asked, "Do you want to have a drink tonight?" "Huh." He took off his rubber gloves and stood up. "The department is having a dinner, and Jack should be there too. So that's how it is." As a doctor's spouse, it was normal for me to join their gatherings. So I agreed and went along. Funny thing is, Jack was always there before, but tonight he didn't come. Seeing I was all alone, his colleagues gave me sympathetic looks. They were quite attentive during dinner. Alan even made sure the drink he gave me was smooth and mild, not harsh at all. I got a little tipsy fairly quickly. As the dinner was wrapping up, the department work chat suddenly buzzed. Alan's phone lit up and was right beside me, so I saw the message. It was a picture of Jack with his back to the camera, cooking in the kitchen. The photo was retracted within 30 seconds. Jack explained in the chat, "Sorry, my wife was just messing around." Instantly, all eyes at the table were on me. The room fell dead silent. I knew Jack had crossed the line. Like a train hovering in mid-air, he'd enjoyed the thrill without falling into the abyss. He was just at his parents' house, cooking dinner for Lucy, who had come over. I couldn't confront him, otherwise, I'd seem unreasonable. Really, I should have expected it. I had learned to calmly accept these things, and didn't feel heartache anymore. After the dinner, everyone decided that Alan should give me a ride home. Before getting in the car, a few of Jack's female colleagues came over to comfort me. "Don't overthink it. Just get some rest." I had drunk quite a bit, and numb, I thanked everyone. Then I leaned back in the seat and fell asleep. Alan drove so smoothly that I only woke up when he called my name after parking downstairs. My phone had somehow slipped to his side. Instinctively, I reached for it, and my hair got caught on his watch. How typical and dramatic. I couldn't help but laugh and apologized. "Sorry, Alan took off his watch immediately and distanced himself, so I could free my hair. Before I could thank him, the car door was suddenly yanked open from the outside. A cold wind rushed in. Jack stood there with a storm brewing in his eyes. "Jane, you better explain what you're doing." This was probably the first time I'd seen Jack lose control. His voice was almost shaking with anger as he gripped my wrist tightly, dragging me out of the car. Half sober, I looked at him calmly. "Let go of me. I didn't do anything. I saw everything." For the first time, I saw a flicker of anger cloud Jack's usually composed face. I suddenly recalled the day I was discharged from the hospital. This scene was almost identical. The corners of my lips curved into a sneer. My hair got caught on his watch. Don't misinterpret it. Jack must have thought of that day too. His furious expression froze. Jack's instinctual reaction still disgusted me, because I knew if he were truly innocent, he would have argued with me, claiming he and Lucy were just friends, and I was overreacting. But Jack didn't. He was flustered and panicked, and he let go of me, not saying a word for quite some time. So, when Lucy moved closer to him, he had really considered reuniting with her. He had thought about abandoning his responsibilities as a husband, pressing Lucy onto the seat, and kissing her passionately. It was my presence that brought back his shameful semblance of a husband's conscience. I calmly turned back and thanked Alan. "I need to talk to Jack. Be safe on your way home." Alan nodded and left. The silence around us was suffocating. I ignored Jack and headed towards the staircase. "Jane, we need to talk," Jack said, trying to grab me. I suddenly turned and slapped him hard. The slap echoed in the hallway. All the suppressed grievances and anger burst out. I thought of the time he left the operating table, the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by my husband. Shaking with rage, I said coldly, "Jack, don't touch me. I find you disgusting." I don't know what excuse Jack gave to his family, but he ended the silent treatment and moved back in. He bought lots of toys for Coco and carried her around in front of me every day. Reusing his old tactic, he said, "Jane, why don't you hold Coco?" I took Coco, casually petting her. Just when he thought I had forgiven him, the doorbell rang. My parents stood at the door. "Jane, we heard you guys are going on a business trip. We'll take Coco for now. When will you be back?" "Not sure yet." Mom and Dad noticed our awkward atmosphere. Quietly, they picked up Coco and left. As they shut the door, I saw Jack's pale face. I loosely threw the toy he just handed me to the ground. "Think about the divorce. I'll take Coco. Leave everything else to the lawyer." Only now did Jack realize I was serious. His gentle demeanor was gone. He spat out stiffly, "I don't agree. Jane, there's nothing between Lucy and me. If you don't like her, I can stop seeing her. I'll do whatever you want, as long as you're happy. Why am I always the unreasonable one?" I pulled up a chair and sat down, speaking softly. "Jack, who cares who you like? Can't I just want a divorce because I'm done with you?" Jack's next words got stuck in his throat. He questioned me, "Is this about Alan?" I took a sip of water. "Jack, stop being ridiculous. Alan and I are innocent. If you don't like him, I can cut ties with him. As long as you're happy and divorce me, I'll do whatever you want." In less than a minute, I threw his own words back at him. For the first time, I saw a crazed look on Jack's face, but I had no interest in continuing the argument. "Whatever you've got with Lucy is the same as what I've got with Alan. Clean and honest. Think about it, and we'll talk later." Those sarcastic words lowered our relationship to the freezing point. Jack didn't agree to the divorce, and we reached a stalemate. But soon, he got a taste of his own medicine. Whether it was when I brought Alan fruit, spoke up for him, or messaged him about my wound while we were eating, Jack's long-suppressed emotions finally exploded. He threw his chopsticks down right in front of me. "Jane, what do you want me to do? I already stopped contacting Lucy. How long are you going to keep this up?" He threw his phone at me, showing me the long, pleading messages from Lucy. "Jack, please talk to me. Are you punishing me for breaking up with you?" "I'm sorry, okay, let's go back to being friends. I won't bother you again." I placed my phone on the table. "2. Lucy is coming on to you. Ignoring her is the least you should do. Why should I give up my doctor just because you finally reject her?" My chats with Alan were perfectly normal. "Saturday checkup. Does your wound still hurt?" "It's better." "Then let's plan to remove the stitches." "Okay." Jack couldn't find any faults, but as a surgeon, his wife getting treatment from someone else was a big deal. I knew what Jack wanted to say and cut him off. "You didn't operate on me, so don't worry about the follow-up treatment. I'm someone who likes things to be consistent." Jack sat in the living room, silent for a long time. Maybe he just made me too angry. After dinner, my lower abdomen started to ache unbearably. Without hesitation, I grabbed my coat and headed to the hospital. Jack looked up, seeing my pale face, and asked, "What's wrong?" I avoided his touch and opened a ride-hailing app. Seeing that I set the destination to the hospital, Jack grabbed his jacket. "It's too late to get a car. Don't be stubborn. I'll drive you." He was right. No sooner had he finished speaking when his phone rang. Lucy's name appeared on the screen. Maybe out of survival instinct, I snatched it and cancelled the call. "Jack, I don't feel well. Take me to the hospital." Then Lucy called again. I answered immediately. "Call again, and I swear I'll tear you apart." I threw the phone against the wall, shattering it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Sweat covered my forehead. Jack didn't hesitate any longer. He helped me outside. As we walked through the door, he bent down to pick up his broken phone. Just then, the screen lit up. Lucy had sent a text. "Jack, if this is your choice, would things get better if I disappeared from this world?" Jack's face changed completely. He forgot what he was doing, called her back, grabbed his coat, and rushed out. He even forgot to close the door. The loud noise woke the neighbors, who opened their doors and curiously looked at me. I couldn't hold on any longer and knelt on the ground. "Please help me to the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant, or that I was about to miscarry." When Alan arrived, the doctor had just said, "Do you want to keep the baby? It's hard to save it if we don't act now." I already had a feeling on the way there, and I had made my decision. "No." Alan stopped at the door. A nurse from his department came in. She was a kind lady. Thinking Jack and I had fought, she tried to comfort me while calling him. "Think carefully about the baby's future. Where did Jack go? How could he ignore his wife in this state?" In their generation's mindset, decisions about a baby should be made together. I suddenly felt very tired. I lost the strength to stop her. As soon as the call connected, Lucy's slightly hoarse voice came through. Jane, I'm sorry to ruin your pride for so many days. Jack is in my bed now. Did you make him mad? He was really passionate with me just now. The nurse's face changed as she quickly hung up. When she calmed down to call again, the phone was off. I was used to others' sympathetic glances. I calmly smiled. Sorry, he cheated. Sorry to trouble you. Maybe it was for the best. Hospitals are gossip hubs anyway. A scandal in public for the seemingly upright Jack meant his downfall wasn't far off. The abortion was quick. I leaned against the hospital hallway as Alan discussed care instructions with the doctor. Afterward, he sat beside me and handed me a cup of hot water. I felt the warmth from the palm of my hand. Thank you, Alan. There are some things where I took advantage of you. If it caused you any trouble, I'm sorry. Alan looked out at the night indifferently. There's nothing to be sorry about, Jane. I'm not some clueless young guy in his early 20s. What? Seeing me staring at him, Alan got up and casually said, it's nothing. Jack only found out I was pregnant the next day. When he rushed to the hospital, I had just come out of the lounge. Jane. Jack's voice was anxious as he hurried over and carefully cupped my face, relief evident in his eyes. We have a child. He probably didn't realize he still had Lucy's perfume on him. I frowned. Where did you hear the news? The nurse told me. The nurse, being the kind sister who called him last night. Jack never listens to everything. This flaw of his might be incurable. Lucy showed up behind Jack at some point. With a sweet smile tinged with secret jealousy and provocation, she said, Sister-in-law, I heard you're pregnant. Jack came to find me last night. He must be out of his mind. She must think she's dropping clues in public. Enjoying it, right? But she didn't know. Her words had spread throughout the hospital overnight. At that moment, several people behind me had a sudden realization and took out their phones to point at her, confirming she was the shameless mistress from the phone call. The atmosphere on the scene became strange. Lucy was stunned for a moment but didn't think much of it. I suddenly found it funny. Jack frowned. Jane, what's so funny? Didn't anyone tell you I aborted the child? Jack's expression froze. What do you mean? Seeing my mocking smile, Jack's face stiffened, and he coldly rebuked, Jane, what gives you the right to make that decision without me? I'm your husband. The scene suddenly fell into an eerie silence. I couldn't suppress the sarcasm in my voice. You remember you're my husband, but what were you doing last night when I called you? Jack's eyes darkened. You called? Yes, Lucy answered. She said you were very passionate with her in bed and told me not to bother you. The crowd burst into gasps. This mistress is really arrogant, even dares to come to the hospital and flaunt in front of the main wife. Jack stiffened all over. His hand trembled as he looked at the terrified Lucy. Is this true? Lucy turned pale, finally realizing the looks from the people around her were off. She didn't know where it went wrong. Just shook her head flusteredly. She's lying, Jack. I didn't. I calmly added. Not only did I hear it, but your colleagues heard it too. Jack, with a mistress so blatant, how do you have the face to ask me to keep your child? Lucy broke down, crying uncontrollably. She fled amidst the pointing and whispering from the crowd. Jack looked like he lost his mind, standing there for a long time without reacting. Local gossip spread quickly. By the afternoon, the news had traveled from the medical circle to the theater circle. The chat was full of nasty comments. Lucy should be proud to be someone's mistress. Why not go live about it? Saying no contact info when doing plays. So high and mighty. Turns out she's just a scummy fly. The next day, when I went to the hospital to get medicine, I ran into Lucy with red-rimmed eyes. Lucy stopped me, begging for my forgiveness. Jane, we don't have to end up like this, right? Just help me clear it up, and I'll leave Jack. Clear up what? Pretend I never said those things, okay? She cried her heart out. I can't lose my job. I grabbed her hair, my tone calm. Lucy, I told you I'd tear you apart, didn't I? I dragged her to Jack's office. I'll give you a chance. The evidence is in my hands. You decide who loses their job, yourself or Jack. But I suggest you sacrifice yourself. 1. You love him so much. 2. If Jack loses his job, can you support your dear brother? That day, through a closed door, I heard Jack's almost crazed roar, and my heart felt at peace. Lucy seemed to be crying. Jack, my possessiveness was too strong. I just hate that woman and don't want her to have you. I thought we were meant to be. Why? Enough. Jack's tone was cold. You're just a mistress. Lucy shouted in disbelief. Jack, you didn't say that. You clearly loved me. Why wouldn't I love my wife and love you instead? Am I crazy? Hearing Jack's almost mocking words, Lucy broke down. Then divorce. We can live somewhere else. I can be your wife. Forget it. Jack's tone was distant. You ruined everything for me. Someone like you, I can't afford. You see, as long as it doesn't touch his interests, first love is the best. But as soon as he loses everything, first love becomes trash. Actually, I was just playing around. I don't want to let either of them go. After Lucy left, I walked in and threw the divorce papers at Jack's face. I don't want to move or see you. So don't go back to that house. Don't argue with me. I don't want it to get too ugly. Jack sat there, pale and silent. When I got home, I threw all of Jack's things out. I sent a few boxes of his personal items to Lucy, even sent her a message. All for you, enough for a month, enjoy. Given Lucy's background in theater, she wasn't a small name. Enthusiastic netizens quickly dug up her identity. The internet was buzzing. So her fairy tale reuniting is ruining someone else's family and being a mistress. Would love to hear the audio of her taunting the wife. Here's a lead. This blogger was sick and went to the hospital, and captured the mistress's call in the background. I never expected someone actually recorded it, and even edited the audio. He's so passionate with me. The craze exploded. Lucy was thoroughly famous. A few times, someone interviewed Lucy on the street. She ran away in a panic in other people's videos, looking very distressed. Quite a few people gathered outside the theater company asking, does the passionate sister still work here? Weren't they going to fire her for her moral corruption? A few days later, the theater company released a statement saying they had fired Lucy. Since then, I haven't seen her again. Autumn arrived in a blink of an eye. Jack's situation had become such a big deal online that the hospital fired him. To recover, I took a long leave. I waited for Jack to sign the divorce papers. In just a month, everything turned upside down. The pain of betrayal would sometimes surface late at night. We had beautiful memories. We shared passionate kisses, and our hearts raced from just the touch of a finger. Because of those memories, the past 3 years felt like a dream. When the dream ended, it was a harsh reality. I felt hurt, wronged, and indignant, but it wasn't unbearable. Time would eventually ease everything. A few nights later, Jack called me. I was brushing Coco's fur, so I put the call on speaker. Jack's voice echoed in the empty house. I thought he was calling to discuss the divorce terms, but he started talking about the past. Funny, isn't it? The one who betrayed first turned out to be the most sentimental. Jane, do you remember when we were at Happy Valley, and you wanted to cross the bridge? So I carried you on my shoulders. I was calm. Yeah, the 3rd month after we got married, on my birthday, the first couple to reach the end would win a small cake. But you accidentally dropped me into the water. Jack chuckled. Yeah, I felt guilty all day. At the restaurant, you got drunk, came over to kiss me, and said you didn't blame me. That's when I first fell for you. I didn't respond, just patted Coco's butt, watching her jump around on the couch. Jack asked, do you remember the night you had a car accident? I do. You got hurt saving me, and I cried. That Christmas Eve when I was working overtime, you brought me a gift. I remember the sunrise on a snowy night in Canada, the sunset by the beach in Hawaii. Jack stopped talking, and after a long time, his voice was hoarse. Jane, we have so many memories. It could take a lifetime to talk about them all. Yeah, a lifetime. I laughed. But the moment you slept with Lucy, all those memories had nothing to do with you anymore. The one who betrayed everything was you, and you should be the one in pain. I heard Jack's pained breaths. Jack, I won't erase our past, because I was happy, but that's all. I can talk about our past, because I've already let it go. No one said one person has to stay with the other person for life. I won't look back or forgive. There was a long silence on the other end. Jack asked in a choked voice, I don't have a chance, do I? I was stroking Coco's ears. Send me the divorce papers ASAP. Let's part ways on good terms. Jack's epilogue. After signing the divorce papers, he and Jane entered the cooling off period for divorces. When they first got married, he felt 2 months were like years. A wedding spurred by a blind date had many little details to worry about. He was irritable and just wanted it to end quickly. But 3 years later, time seemed to fly by. The marriage he once resisted ended visibly fast. In the last 2 months, Jane didn't forgive him. The wife who was soft-hearted and gentle in his memory was now so determined when she left. Jack often felt that the month he drifted away was like a dream. His first love in his youth had changed beyond recognition over the years. But it wasn't just Lucy who had changed beyond recognition. He had too. The next time Jack saw Jane, it was late autumn. The trees on the street had shed their leaves. She dressed warmer than others, seemingly more afraid of the cold. Jack thought of their unborn child, feeling unspeakable sorrow. Jane, wrapped in a scarf, walked up to Jack and spoke quite kindly. The traffic was a bit of a mess. Jack looked up the way she had come. It was empty. His hanging heart seemed to find a bit of peace, but mostly, it was just bitterness. I'm in a hurry, let's get this over with quickly. Jane was the first to head towards the Civil Affairs Bureau. For a moment, Jack wanted to grab Jane, hold her, and tell her he regretted it. He wanted to say Lucy was just an obsession from his youth. The one he loved was Jane, but that thought vanished in an instant. Jane had said if a mutual divorce didn't work out, she wouldn't show mercy anymore. His parents were elderly. He was middle-aged and unemployed, facing the need to find work far away. Once he got a job, the chances of coming back were slim. His parents had lost face because of this and had been sick for days. He didn't want to lose the last bit of dignity. There weren't many people getting a divorce today. The process was as fast as pressing a button. In no time, it was done. The moment Jack got the divorce certificate, it felt as heavy as £1,000, making it hard to breathe. Jane stood before him, and the warm autumn sun slid over the eaves, drawing a clear line of dawn and dusk between them. Jack stood in the shadows and asked Jane, "What are your plans now?" Jane replied coldly, "No plans, just normal work and normal life." Watching Jane's hair get blown by the wind, he instinctively raised his hand to brush it aside. But Jane turned to look towards the street corner, as if she had received a message from someone. Her hair and his hand just missed each other. At some point, a black car had parked at the street corner. Jane walked away in such a hurry that she didn't even have time to say goodbye. Jack stared at the driver's hands for a long time, feeling unsettled, but he didn't dare step forward. He was scared to see who the driver was. Maybe it was Alan, or maybe some other man. So, he could only stare at those hands without blinking. The autumn wind blew, and tears blurred his vision. The car drove away. Jack couldn't see clearly. Jack left his hometown. He was gone for 3 years. On Christmas Eve, he sat in the cold duty room. The fierce cold wind outside couldn't break through the joy of fireworks and family gatherings. This year, he couldn't go back again. His parents were already very displeased with him. His friends and relatives barely contacted him because of that incident. Jack seemed truly alone. That year on Christmas Eve, the dumplings Jane brought in the heavy snow became an unreachable dream for the rest of his life. Just after midnight, New Year's wishes came one after another. A message popped up. "Did you know Jane got married?" Jack stared at the message, sitting silently for a long time. He stayed silent for a while, unable to gather the courage to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened the chat with Jane. The last message was from 3 years ago. Jane had asked him to handle the divorce. After much hesitation, he typed, "Congratulations on your marriage." The sound of fireworks shook his heart painfully. He took a deep breath and hit send. A red exclamation mark appeared. The firecracker sounds also stopped just then. The world was silent, just like his heart, wilting into desolation.